The council chamber of Argentum 7 station echoed with laughter, not the warm kind that brought people together, but the cruel sort that pushed them apart. David Reed stood at the center of it all, his hands clasped behind his back, his face carefully blank. Around him, representatives from 47 different species howled with amusement at the holographic display floating above the floor. Earth, his home, spinning slowly in blue and green and brown. "Look at it," one of the delegates chittered, its shell clicking with mirth. "They call that a planet worth preserving. I've seen asteroids with more strategic value." High Chancellor Vorn rose from his crystalline seat, his translucent body flickering with colors that David had learned meant contempt. "Ambassador Reed, Earth has applied for full council membership 3 times in the past century. 3 times we have declined. Do you truly believe this 4th attempt will yield different results?" David kept his voice level. "We do, Chancellor. Humanity has made significant progress in the last 20 years. "Progress?" A reptilian delegate named Sarkin uncoiled from his bench, scales rippling. "You've barely mapped your own solar system. Your fastest ships use chemical propulsion. Chemical. My hatchlings build better toys." More laughter. David felt the heat rising in his chest but pushed it down. Getting angry would only prove their point, that humans were primitives, emotional, unstable. "We've developed new technologies," David said. "Revolutionary approaches to space travel and defense." The Ethrin representative, a being of contained gases held together by an energy field, pulsed with amusement. "Let me guess. You've discovered fusion power. How quaint. We mastered that 12,000 years ago." "Not fusion," David replied quietly. Vorn leaned forward, his crystalline fingers steepled. "Then what? What could a species from that backwater spiral arm possibly offer this council? Your sun is weak. Your planets are resource poor. Your location has no strategic importance. You are, to be blunt, irrelevant." The word hung in the air like poison. Irrelevant. David had heard variations of it his entire diplomatic career. Earth was too small, too primitive, too young. The galactic community operated on 3 tiers of civilization. Tier 1 consisted of energy beings and reality manipulators, species so advanced they rarely interacted with lesser races. Tier 2 included most council members, with antimatter drives and dimensional technology. Tier 3 held the primitives. The failures, the irrelevant ones. Species like humanity. "We brought something to demonstrate our worthiness," David said, his voice carrying across the sudden quiet. "Something that proves Earth deserves a place at this table." Sarkin's tongue flickered out, tasting the air. "Another weapon, I presume. Some crude missile you're proud of." "No," David said. "Something you've never seen before. Something no species in this galaxy has ever created." Vorn's colors shifted to something that might have been curiosity. Bold claims from a Tier 3 representative. "Very well. Show us this miracle of human engineering. We could use the entertainment." The other delegates murmured agreement, settling back into their seats like spectators at a comedy show. David pulled out a small communicator from his pocket. It looked primitive compared to the sleek technology the council members carried, but it served its purpose. He pressed a single button and spoke 3 words. "Wake her up." Halfway across the solar system, deep in the shadow of Jupiter's massive gravity well, something stirred. The automated monitoring stations orbiting the gas giant registered the change first. Temperature spikes, electromagnetic fluctuations, bio-readings that made no sense so far from Earth. Inside Argentum 7's control center, a technician stared at her display panel. The readings climbing across her screen defied logic. She tapped the console, assuming a malfunction. The readings intensified. "Sir," she called to her supervisor, a being with too many eyes and not enough patience. "We're getting strange readings from the Jupiter sector." "Define strain." "Well," the technician hesitated, "something just started breathing out there." Back in the council chamber, David stood perfectly still. The delegates had returned to their conversations, dismissing him. They thought the demonstration would take hours to arrive, if it arrived at all. They didn't understand that she had been waiting, listening, ready. She'd been ready for 200 years. The station's alarm system activated without warning, a piercing wail that cut through every conversation, every laugh, every dismissive comment. Red emergency lights bathed the chamber in blood-colored illumination. Vorn shot to his feet. What is the meaning of this? A military officer burst through the chamber doors, his uniform disheveled, his face pale. Chancellor, we have an unidentified contact approaching at impossible speed. It's massive, sir, larger than anything in our database. From where? Vorn demanded. It just appeared at the edge of our sensor range. No FTL signature, no engine emissions we can recognize. But sir, there's something else. The officer's voice cracked. It's not mechanical. Our scans show it's organic, living. Every delegate in the chamber turned to stare at David. He met their gazes without flinching. You wanted a demonstration, he said quietly. Here she comes. The main view screen activated, showing the black void of space beyond the station. For a moment, nothing. Then something moved across the stars, blotting them out. Something enormous. She emerged from the darkness like a dream rising from deep water. Bioluminescent patterns pulsed across skin that stretched for kilometers. Dozens of eyes, each the size of a building, reflected the distant starlight. She moved with impossible grace, her massive form undulating through space as if swimming through an invisible ocean. Sarkin's scales went pale. That's not possible. That, David said, unable to keep the pride from his voice, is Gaia, Earth's answer to your superior technology. We didn't build a ship, we grew her. The chamber fell completely silent. 47 species, some of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy, could only stare as the living warship approached their station. Vorn's crystalline body had gone completely colorless. What have you done? David smiled. We proved that Earth is anything but irrelevant. Dr. Rebecca Walsh pressed her hand against the warm, pulsing wall and felt the heartbeat that echoed through kilometers of living tissue. After 2 centuries, Gaia was finally awake. The chamber around Rebecca thrummed with life. Bioluminescent veins ran through the walls like glowing rivers, carrying nutrients and oxygen through a body larger than most mountains. This wasn't a spaceship in any conventional sense. This was a creature, born from human ingenuity and Earth's ancient oceans, raised in the darkness between worlds. Neural activity increasing, called out Dr. Henry Patterson from his station across the chamber. The old man's face was illuminated by holographic displays showing Gaia's vital signs. She's responding to the wake-up protocol, heart rate climbing to active levels. Rebecca closed her eyes and felt through the neural link embedded in her palm. The connection wasn't technological. It was biological, a direct bridge between her nervous system and Gaia's vast consciousness. Through it, she felt the creature's confusion as sleep faded into awareness. Where am I? The thought wasn't words exactly, more like emotions wrapped in questions. You're safe, Rebecca whispered, knowing Gaia would feel the reassurance through their bond. It's time to wake up, sweetheart, we need you. The first time Rebecca had touched the neural interface, Gaia had been small, the size of a whale calf, swimming in a massive tank filled with nutrient-rich fluid. That had been 40 years ago, when Rebecca was a young scientist fresh from university. She'd been part of the team that designed Gaia's genetic code, splicing together DNA from deep-sea organisms, adding modified whale genetics for size and intelligence, and incorporating human neural tissue to allow for the bonding process. The project had been Earth's most closely guarded secret. While diplomats dealt with the Council's endless rejections, while humanity was mocked for its primitive technology, scientists worked in hidden facilities to create something the galaxy had never imagined. Not artificial intelligence, not a computer-controlled vessel. Life itself turned into Starship. Initiating hormone cascade, announced another crew member. Throughout Gaia's massive body, specialized glands released chemicals that would fully activate her systems. The creature shuddered, and Rebecca felt it through the floor, through the walls, through the very air. Gaia's eyes opened, all 63 of them, scattered across her exterior hull, each one capable of seeing across multiple spectrums of light. They focused slowly, adjusting to the starlight after centuries of darkness. "Hello, little mother." The thought flowed through the neural link with warmth that made Rebecca's eyes sting with tears. "I dreamed of strange things while I slept." "Tell me later," Rebecca said, smiling. "Right now we have somewhere to be. Can you move?" Through the transparent sections of her chamber, Rebecca watched as Gaia's massive fins extended. They weren't made of metal or composite materials. They were living tissue reinforced with cartilage stronger than steel, covered in skin that could withstand temperatures that would vaporize conventional ships. Gaia moved forward and space itself seemed to ripple around her. She didn't use rocket engines or antimatter drives. Her propulsion came from organs that converted her own mass directly into energy, pushing her forward through principles that Earth scientists still didn't fully understand. They knew it worked. They'd helped her grow the organs, nurtured them, tested them over decades. But Gaia had taught herself how to use them. "She's accelerating," Patterson said, wonder in his voice. "No conventional drive signature. She's actually doing it." The crew of 200 humans living inside Gaia's body had volunteered for this mission. They weren't pilots in the traditional sense. Each person had a role in maintaining the symbiotic relationship. Engineers monitored her health. Medical teams treated her injuries. Tacticians helped her make strategic decisions. They lived in specialized chambers grown from Gaia's own tissue, breathing air she produced, eating food she synthesized from the nutrients in her bloodstream. They were part of her, and she was part of them. Private James Foster stood in the observation dome, watching the stars wheel past as Gaia moved. He'd been skeptical when he first volunteered. The idea of living inside a creature seemed insane. But over the months of training, as he learned to feel Gaia's moods through the subtle vibrations in the walls, as he started to recognize her personality, his skepticism had transformed into something like love. She was gentle, curious, sometimes afraid of her own size and power. She liked music, especially the old ocean recordings they played for her, whale songs and crashing waves, reminders of the world that gave her life. "Approaching Council space," Foster reported. "Gaia's asking if she should slow down." Rebecca felt the question through the link. The creature was nervous. She could sense thousands of artificial minds ahead, computers and weapons systems all focused on her. It frightened her. "You're doing beautifully," Rebecca sent back through the neural connection. "They need to see you, to understand what Earth can create when we're not limited by their expectations." "What if they hurt us?" The question made Rebecca pause. Gaia wasn't just worried about damage to her body. She was worried about her crew, about the humans she'd been designed to protect. "Then we show them why that was a mistake," Rebecca said softly. "But I don't think it will come to that." She was wrong. Argentum 7 station appeared ahead, a glittering construct of metal and energy fields. Around it, the Council's defense fleet scrambled into formation. 50 warships, each one a masterpiece of Tier 2 technology, moved to intercept. Fleet Commander Dulek's voice crackled through space on all frequencies. "Unidentified organism, you are in violation of Council space. Halt immediately or be destroyed." Rebecca moved to the communication station, a living organ that Gaia had grown specifically for speaking to the outside world. She placed her hands on the warm, pulsing tissue. "This is Dr. Rebecca Walsh of Earth, speaking for the living ship Gaia. We come in peace at the invitation of Ambassador Reed. We mean no harm." Dulac's response was instant and hostile. Living ship, impossible. Nothing organic could achieve faster-than-light travel. This is some trick. You have 10 seconds to power down your systems. We don't have systems to power down, Rebecca said. Gaia is alive, she's not a machine. 9 seconds. Through the neural link, Rebecca felt Gaia's fear spike. The creature could sense the weapons targeting her, feel the hostile intent radiating from the fleet. Are they going to shoot us? Maybe, Rebecca admitted. But if they do, you defend yourself. Understand, you protect yourself and your crew. The first plasma bolt hit Gaia's forward section. Pain exploded through the neural link, and Rebecca screamed along with the creature. The wound burned across living tissue, cauterizing and destroying. But within seconds, the tissue began regenerating. Cells multiplied at impossible speeds, knitting the wound closed. Within a minute, only a scar remained. Gaia roared. The sound traveled through the vacuum of space on low-frequency radio waves, a scream of pain and defiance that rattled instruments across the Council fleet. Inside Argentum 7's council chamber, every delegate felt it through the station's hull, a vibration that resonated in their bones. High Chancellor Vorn gripped the edges of his seat, his crystalline body flashing colors of shock. That creature is in pain. Dulac, cease fire immediately. But Fleet Commander Dulac wasn't listening. His pride had been wounded by the mockery his fleet endured, scattered and humiliated by a single organism. He wanted blood. All ships converge on target. If it bleeds, we can kill it. David Reed stepped forward in the council chamber, his face pale but determined. Chancellor, you have to stop this. Gaia came here peacefully. She's proven nothing but her existence, and your fleet attacks her. Your creature violated our space, Sarkin hissed, his scales rippling with agitation. It could be a weapon, a biological bomb designed to destroy us all. She's a person, David shot back. A living being with thoughts and feelings. Everything she's doing right now is self-defense. On the view screen, Gaia moved like nothing the Council had ever seen. She twisted between asteroids with grace that defied her massive size, her body flowing through space as if the void were water. Her dozens of eyes tracked every ship simultaneously, predicting their movements before they made them. A Council destroyer fired a spread of missiles. Gaia's body rippled, and suddenly specialized pores opened across her skin. They released clouds of microscopic organisms, billions of tiny creatures that swarmed toward the missiles. The warheads detonated prematurely as the organisms consumed their guidance systems, turning the weapons into harmless explosions of light. Biological countermeasures, whispered a Ethran scientist, his gaseous form pulsing with fascination. She's using microorganisms as defensive weapons. Brilliant. Another ship tried to flank Gaia from below. She sensed it through organs that could detect electromagnetic fields across thousands of kilometers. Her tail, a massive appendage studded with bone-like protrusions, swung with terrible precision. It caught the cruiser's engines, crushing them like an insect. The ship went dark, drifting helplessly. Inside Gaia, Rebecca clung to a support rail as the creature maneuvered. Through the neural link, she felt every tactical decision, every movement. Gaia wasn't just reacting. She was thinking, planning, adapting. She's learning, Patterson said, wonder in his voice. Look at her tactics. She's analyzing their attack patterns and countering them. Private Foster monitored the damage readouts. She's taking hits, but nothing critical. Her regeneration is keeping pace with the damage, but Dr. Walsh, her stress hormones are spiking. She's getting angry. Rebecca felt it too. Gaia's initial fear was transforming into something more dangerous. The creature had been gentle her entire life, raised by scientists who taught her compassion along with combat. But she'd also inherited instincts from her genetic predecessors, predators from Earth's deepest oceans, creatures that survived by being more ruthless than anything else in their environment. Please, little mother, Gaia's thoughts came through the link. Please tell them to stop hurting us. I don't want to hurt them back. They don't understand yet, Rebecca sent back, tears streaming down her face. But they will. Hold on just a little longer. Fleet Commander Dulek's flagship charged forward, all weapons blazing. Plasma cannons, kinetic rounds, and particle beams converged on Gaia's forward section. The living ship's hide burned and tore, luminescent blue blood spraying into the vacuum. 2 crew members died instantly when a plasma bolt breached their chamber. Rebecca felt Gaia's grief through the neural link, a wail of anguish for the humans she'd failed to protect. The creature's bioluminescence shifted from peaceful blue to angry crimson. Something changed in that moment. The gentle creature that loved whale songs and worried about frightening people transformed into something primal, something ancient and terrible. Gaia's massive jaws opened, revealing an organ deep in her throat that no one had known existed. Energy began building inside, and sensors across the Council fleet screamed warnings. A scientist on Argentum 7 went pale. That's antimatter synthesis. She's creating antimatter inside her own body. The energy release if she fires that weapon will destroy everything within 100 kilometers. Dulek's confidence finally cracked. All ships retreat, retreat now. But Gaia didn't fire. The energy built and built, her entire body glowing with barely contained power. She could have destroyed the entire fleet, could have turned Argentum 7 into expanding plasma. Instead, she stopped. Through the neural link, Rebecca felt the internal battle raging inside the creature. Instinct screamed at Gaia to destroy the threats, to protect herself and her crew. But something else held her back, something human. The memory of Dr. Patterson singing to her when she was small. The feeling of Rebecca's hand on her skin during the bonding ceremony. The laughter of crew members playing games in her corridors. The stories they'd told her about Earth, about the oceans she'd never seen but somehow remembered. Gaia was more than her instincts, more than a weapon. She was the best of what humanity could create. The antimatter dispersed safely into space, channeled away through specialized organs. The crimson glow faded back to blue. Gaia's body went still, hovering in space among the wreckage of disabled ships. High Chancellor Vorn stood in the council chamber, all his colors muted with shame. He activated the general broadcast. "Living ship of Earth, please accept our deepest apologies. Commander Dulek acted without authorization. We request a ceasefire to discuss terms." David looked at the viewscreen, at Gaia's massive form silhouetted against the stars. "She already ceased fire, Chancellor. That's the difference between us. We know when to stop." Sarkin's scales had gone pale. It could have destroyed us all. Why did it hold back? "Because," David said quietly, "humanity taught her that having the power to destroy isn't the same as having the right to use it. She's more than a weapon. She's proof that Earth values life above all else." The Ethrin delegate pulsed thoughtfully. "You grew a creature capable of antimatter synthesis inside its own biology. The energy requirements alone should be impossible. How?" "That's not the question you should be asking," David replied. "The question is why. Why did we create her? Not as a weapon of conquest, but as a partner, a companion for humanity's journey into the stars." Through the communication systems, a voice emerged. Not Rebecca's, but something else, something vast and gentle and utterly alien. Gaia spoke directly to the council for the first time. "I am Gaia. I was made from Earth's oceans, from the DNA of creatures that swam in darkness and light. The humans gave me life, but they also gave me choice. I choose to protect them, not because I was programmed, but because I love them." The council chamber fell silent. 47 species, some of the most advanced in the galaxy, had no response to that simple truth. 3 hours passed in tense negotiation. Council medical ships approached Gaia cautiously, offering to help treat her wounds. She accepted, allowing their scanners to examine her biology while her own regeneration systems worked. The Council scientists were astounded by what they found. Every organ served multiple purposes. Her skin absorbed radiation and converted it to energy. Her blood carried nutrients but also served as a computational medium, processing information through chemical reactions. She had no single brain. Instead, neural tissue distributed throughout her body created a consciousness that couldn't be destroyed by any single injury. "She's redundant at every level," breathed one scientist, "a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline matrix. You could destroy half her body mass and she'd survive. This isn't just bioengineering. This is evolution accelerated by conscious design." David stood beside Rebecca in one of Gaia's observation chambers, watching the Council ships examine her. "How is she handling all the attention?" Rebecca smiled tiredly, her hand still pressed against a neural interface. "Curious, a little scared. She's never been around this many other intelligences before. Most of her life was spent in the asteroid belt with just us." "Will she be okay for what comes next?" "What comes next?" David's expression grew grim. "Ambassador duties. I need to convince the Council that Earth deserves membership. That means showing them what Gaia represents, not just as a weapon, but as a symbol of human potential." Before Rebecca could respond, alarms screamed across every ship and station in the system. The emergency klaxons were different this time, more urgent, more desperate. Multiple contacts emerging at system edge, a panicked voice broadcast on all frequencies. "Transponder signals identified as Korvax's horde. I count 200 warships. They're heading straight for us." The name sent a chill through every Council member. The Korvax were raiders, conquerors who struck at weakened fleets and undefended stations. They'd been harassing Council space for decades, always attacking when defenses were low. And right now, with half the Council fleet disabled by their battle with Gaia, defenses were at their weakest point in years. Fleet Commander Dulac's voice came through, shaken but determined. "We can't fight them, not with the damage we've sustained. We need to evacuate Argentum 7 and retreat to fortified positions." "Negative," High Chancellor Vorn replied. "This station holds the Council archives, 3,000 years of accumulated knowledge. We cannot abandon it. Then we'll die defending it, because we don't have the firepower to repel the horde." Inside Gaia, the crew gathered in the central chamber. Foster looked at Rebecca with fear in his eyes. "We should leave. This isn't our fight. The Council attacked us." "They did," Rebecca agreed. "And 2 of our crew members are dead because of it. We'd be justified in leaving them to their fate." "But," Patterson asked, knowing Rebecca well enough to hear the word coming, "but that's not who we are. That's not what Earth stands for, and it's definitely not what we taught Gaia to be." Through the neural link, Rebecca felt the creature's confusion. The Korvax fleet was approaching rapidly, their weapon systems already powering up. Gaia could sense the hostile intent radiating from them like heat. "Why do they want to hurt everyone?" Gaia asked. "What did the Council do to them?" "Nothing specific," Rebecca explained. "The Korvax raid because that's what they do. They take resources and territory by force." "That's wrong." "Yes, it is. Should we help stop them?" Rebecca closed her eyes. This was Gaia's choice. The creature had free will, the ability to choose her own path. Everything humanity had done, all the years of development and training, came down to this moment. What would Gaia choose to be? "I want to protect people." Gaia's thoughts flowed through the link with quiet determination. "Even the ones who hurt us. Because protecting is better than destroying. You taught me that." Rebecca felt tears on her cheeks again, but this time they were tears of pride. "Yes, sweetheart, we did." David broadcast to the Council fleet and Argentum 7 simultaneously. "Earth stands with the Council, not because we owe you anything, but because it's the right thing to do. Gaia will take point in the defense." Vorn's crystalline body flickered with colors Rebecca had learned meant gratitude. "Ambassador Reed, after what we did to your ship, to your people, you would still help us." "That's what separates us from the Korvax," David replied. "They destroy because they can. We protect because we should." The Council fleet, battered and damaged, rallied behind Gaia. The living ship moved forward to intercept the approaching horde, her bioluminescence pulsing with determination. The remaining functional Council warships formed a defensive line, their weapons charging. The Korvax fleet commander broadcast a message in a harsh, guttural language that the translators struggled to process. The meaning came through clearly enough: surrender or die. Gaia responded not with words but with a display of power. She opened her jaws and released a controlled burst of the antimatter she'd generated earlier. The beam lanced across space, striking an uninhabited asteroid and vaporizing it instantly. The Korvax fleet hesitated. They'd expected easy prey, a damaged Council force ripe for plunder. They hadn't expected this. Their hesitation lasted exactly 5 seconds. Then they attacked anyway. 200 Korvax warships opened fire simultaneously. The volume of firepower would have obliterated any conventional fleet. Plasma, kinetic rounds, missiles, and exotic weapons humanity had no names for converged on the defensive line. Gaia took the brunt of it. Her massive body absorbed hits meant for the smaller Council ships, her regenerating hide burning and healing in a continuous cycle. Inside her body, medical teams worked frantically to boost her healing rate, pumping nutrients and growth hormones through her bloodstream. Foster monitored the damage displays with growing horror. "She can't take this much longer. They're overwhelming her regeneration." Patterson shook his head. "She's not trying to outlast them. She's buying time." "For what?" The answer came from High Chancellor Vorn. His personal flagship, a masterpiece of Council engineering, moved alongside Gaia. Its main power core diverted energy to create a shimmering shield that wrapped around the living ship. "For unity," Vorn broadcast. "All ships protect Gaia. She stands for us. We stand for her." One by one, every functional Council ship moved to shield the creature that had come to save them. Their weapons fired in coordinated patterns, their shields overlapping to create a defensive wall. Species that had existed for thousands of years, that had built empires and conquered stars, came together to protect something brand new. A living ship that chose compassion over vengeance. Gaia, protected by those she'd chosen to defend, unleashed her full arsenal. Biomissiles that tracked targets through the vacuum, electromagnetic pulses that cascaded through enemy formations, and her physical strength, tearing through Korvax armor with claws and tail. The battle raged for 3 hours. When it finally ended, the Korvax fleet was broken and retreating. The Council had held. Gaia floated in the silence after battle, her bioluminescence flickering weakly. The living ship had taken catastrophic damage. Entire sections of her hull were gone, exposing internal chambers to the vacuum. Her blood, glowing blue in the starlight, drifted around her in frozen clouds. But she was alive. Rebecca sat in the medical bay, her own wounds bandaged, watching the vital signs scroll across the displays. Gaia's massive hearts beat slowly, conserving energy. Her regeneration systems worked overtime, but the damage was severe. It would take weeks, maybe months, for her to fully heal. 17 crew members lost, Patterson said quietly, reading from his tablet. Another 32 injured, but we saved thousands of Council lives today. "Tell that to the families of our dead," Foster replied bitterly. He stood by a viewport, staring at the debris field where the battle had raged. "We came here for recognition, not a war." "We got both," Rebecca said. "The question is what we do with it." Outside, Council medical ships approached carefully, asking permission before they began assisting with Gaia's treatment. They brought synthetic nutrients, cellular regeneration accelerators, and teams of xenobiologists who'd never worked on anything like a living starship before. High Chancellor Vorn requested a meeting aboard Gaia herself. David agreed, but only after making it clear that any hostile action would be met with immediate response. Trust had to be rebuilt carefully. The Chancellor arrived with a small delegation, their shuttle docking at one of Gaia's external ports. Rebecca met them in a chamber that Gaia had specifically grown for diplomacy, its walls smooth and welcoming, its bioluminescence warm and calming. Vorn's crystalline body showed colors Rebecca now recognized as shame and regret. "Dr. Walsh, I wanted to apologize directly. To you and to Gaia. We judged without understanding. We attacked without provocation. And yet you saved us anyway." "Gaia saved you," Rebecca corrected gently. "I just helped her make the choice." "May I speak with her directly?" Rebecca hesitated, then placed her hand on a neural interface. Through the link, she felt Gaia's exhaustion and pain, but also curiosity. The creature wanted to understand these beings who'd hurt her, then fought beside her. "She'll listen," Rebecca said, "but be honest. She can sense lies through electromagnetic changes in your body. Evolution gave her that ability to detect predators." Vorn approached the chamber wall, placing one crystalline appendage against the living tissue. For a moment, nothing. Then Gaia's consciousness flowed through the connection, vast and alien and gentle. "I am here," her thoughts carried to Vorn through specialized neurons Gaia had grown for this purpose. "Why did your people hurt me?" "Fear," Vorn said simply. "We feared what we didn't understand. Earth created something we thought impossible, and our response to the impossible is often violence. I am ashamed." The council representative's honesty seemed to satisfy Gaia. Rebecca felt the creature's anger fading, replaced by something else. Forgiveness, perhaps, or at least the beginning of it. "You're different from the one who shot us," Gaia observed. "He wanted to destroy. You want to understand." "Fleet Commander Dulac has been relieved of duty," Vorn said. "His actions violated Council protocols and endangered both our fleet and your crew. He will face consequences." "That makes me sad," Gaia replied, surprising everyone. "He was afraid too. Being punished won't help him be less afraid." Vorn's colors shifted to amazement. "You would show mercy to the one who nearly killed you." "I don't want revenge. I want people to stop hurting each other." The simple statement hung in the air. Sarkin, who'd accompanied Vorn, lowered his head. "We called your world a dirt planet. We mocked your creators as primitives, but you've shown more wisdom in your short life than some of us have in millennia." David entered the chamber, having finished his own meetings with council representatives. "Chancellor, the council is prepared to vote on Earth's membership." "We are," Vorn confirmed. "But first, I think it's important that everyone understands what Earth has truly accomplished here. Ambassador Reed, would you explain the Gaia project to the Council? All of it, not just the tactical capabilities." Over the next hour, David and Rebecca detailed humanity's greatest secret. They explained how Earth's scientists, frustrated by their inability to match alien technology, had taken a different approach. Instead of building faster engines or stronger weapons, they'd asked a simple question. What if the ship itself was alive? The genetic engineering had taken decades. Failures outnumbered successes 1,000 to 1. But eventually, they'd created a viable embryo, a creature designed to survive in space, to travel faster than light through biological processes, to defend itself and those it cared about. "But the most important part," Rebecca said, her hand resting on Gaia's wall, "was teaching her to be more than a weapon. We raised her with love. We taught her about Earth's oceans, even though she'll never swim in them. We shared our music, our stories, our dreams. We wanted her to understand what she was protecting." The Etherin delegate pulsed thoughtfully. "This raises ethical questions. Is it right to create life for a specific purpose? To engineer consciousness itself?" We asked ourselves that every day, Patterson admitted. Still do, but Gaia has free will. She chose to help you. She could have left at any time. Why would I leave? Gaia's thoughts flowed through the chamber, accessible to all through the neural interface. You are my family. All of you, even the ones who were mean. Family doesn't abandon each other. Vorn's body glowed with colors that might have been tears if crystalline beings could cry. The Council will vote tomorrow, but I can tell you now, Earth's membership will be approved unanimously, not because of Gaia's power, but because of what she represents. The possibility that life, compassion, and wisdom matter more than weapons and technology. There's one more thing, David said. Earth isn't stopping with Gaia. We have 12 more ships in various stages of development, each one unique, each one a partner rather than a tool. We're offering to share the biotechnology with the Council, but only under strict ethical guidelines. What kind of guidelines? No cloning for weapons. No creating consciousness without providing it the means for growth and choice. And most importantly, no species creates a living ship unless they're prepared to love it. Sarkin's scales rippled. Love a starship. Rebecca smiled. Love anything you give life to. That's the human way. 1 month later, Gaia returned to Earth. She descended slowly through the atmosphere, her massive body creating aurora-like displays as her electromagnetic fields interacted with the planet's magnetosphere. Below, billions of humans watched the sky, seeing for the first time the miracle their best scientists had created in secret. Rebecca stood in the observation chamber, feeling Gaia's joy through the neural link. The creature had dreamed of Earth her entire life, heard stories about the oceans that donated the DNA that formed her, but never seen it with her own eyes. It's beautiful, Gaia thought, her consciousness filled with wonder. All that blue, all that life. That's home, Rebecca said softly. That's where you came from, even if you were born among the stars. Gaia settled into the Pacific Ocean, her body too large to fully submerge. Parts of her rose above the waves like living islands. Ships from every nation approached cautiously, their crews staring in awe at the creature that had won Earth a place among the stars. The United Nations had declared a global celebration. After a century of rejection, Earth was finally a full member of the Galactic Council. But more than that, humanity had proven something fundamental about their species. They created to nurture, not just to conquer. David stood on a specially constructed platform near Gaia's head, addressing the world's media. Many of you have questions about the Gaia project, why we kept it secret, whether it was right to create life for a specific purpose. These are valid concerns, and I promise full transparency moving forward. A reporter shouted a question. Ambassador Reed, some people are calling Gaia a weapon. How do you respond? David glanced at the massive eye watching him, seeing intelligence and kindness there. Gaia has weapons, yes, but so does every living thing. The question isn't whether something can fight, it's what it chooses to fight for. Gaia chose to protect life, even when doing so put her in danger. That's not a weapon, that's a hero. Inside Gaia, the crew had been given shore leave. Most had families they hadn't seen in years, lives they'd put on hold to be part of something historic. Foster hugged his daughter for the first time since she'd learned to walk. Patterson video-called his grandchildren, showing them the living walls of the ship he called home. But some crew members stayed. Rebecca was one of them. Her bond with Gaia ran deeper than duty or patriotism. The creature was part of her now, and she was part of Gaia. Leaving felt like abandoning a piece of herself. Are you sad? Gaia asked, sensing Rebecca's mixed emotions through their link. A little, Rebecca admitted. People keep asking if creating you was ethical, if we had the right to bring you into existence for our purposes. But I like existing, Gaia replied simply. I'm glad I'm alive. Isn't that what matters? Rebecca smiled through tears. Yes, sweetheart, that's exactly what matters. High Chancellor Vorn arrived on Earth for the formal membership ceremony. The Council had never held such an event on a member planet's surface before, but they made an exception. Partly because Earth requested it, but mostly because Vorn wanted to see the world that produced such remarkable creativity. He stood in the United Nations Assembly Hall, addressing representatives from every human nation. Earth has been accepted into the Galactic Council not as a Tier 3 species seeking to rise, but as a Tier 2 species that took an unconventional path to advancement. Your biotechnology surpasses anything we've developed in our history. We're willing to share, said Earth's Prime Minister, but we have conditions. Which are? First, any species using this technology must commit to ethical treatment of created life. Second, living ships must have the right to choose their own paths once they reach maturity. Third, no military applications without the consent of the beings involved. Vorn's crystalline body glowed with approval. Acceptable. These terms will be written into council law. The creation of conscious beings carries responsibilities we've never fully acknowledged. Earth is forcing us to confront that. The ceremony concluded with Gaia's official recognition as Earth's first diplomatic vessel. She would carry ambassadors, scientists, and explorers to the stars, representing humanity not through weapons but through the bonds she formed. 3 years later, the first of Gaia's siblings reached maturity. Atlas was smaller, built for speed and exploration rather than combat. His personality was different too, more curious and playful. Captain Ann Weston bonded with him the day he was born, and their friendship grew as Atlas developed. He asked the same questions Gaia had asked. Am I a weapon? Will people accept me? Ann's answer was always the same. You're whatever you choose to be. And yes, some people will fear you, but others will love you for exactly who you are. More living ships followed. Terra, designed for medical missions, with organs that could synthesize medicines and chambers that served as mobile hospitals. Ocean, specialized for underwater exploration, who dreamed of mapping Earth's seas before venturing into space. Horizon, built for long-range exploration, whose consciousness could hibernate for centuries between stars. Each one unique, each one loved. The galaxy changed slowly. Other species began experimenting with biotechnology, creating their own partnerships with living vessels. Not all succeeded. Some tried to take shortcuts, to force consciousness into predetermined roles. Those creations rebelled or died, teaching harsh lessons about the price of treating life as a tool. But some succeeded, following Earth's example. They raised their ships with care, taught them ethics alongside tactics, and formed bonds that transcended the relationship between pilot and machine. 20 years after Gaia's first flight, over 100 living ships traveled the galaxy. They formed their own community, communicating across light years through methods that confused scientists. They protected trade routes, explored uncharted systems, and most importantly, reminded the galaxy that consciousness came in many forms. Rebecca, now old and gray, still maintained her bond with Gaia. The creature had grown wiser over the years, more confident in her place in the universe. She'd formed friendships with other living ships, found purpose beyond her original design. I have a question, little mother, Gaia said one day as they floated together in Earth's orbit. Ask anything. When you created me, did you know I would change everything? Rebecca thought about the young scientist she'd been, working in secret labs, dreaming of proving Earth's worth to an indifferent galaxy. She remembered the first time she'd touched Gaia's neural tissue, felt the spark of consciousness awakening. No, she admitted. We just knew the galaxy needed to see that life finds a way, that creativity matters more than conformity, that love is the strongest force in the universe. Gaia's bioluminescence pulsed with contentment. Thank you for making me. Thank you for teaching me that being alive is about choosing kindness. Thank you for proving that Earth was never a dirt planet. Rebecca replied. "We were always a seed, waiting to grow into something the galaxy had never seen." Below them, Earth turned slowly in the sunlight. Continents and oceans, cities and wilderness, billions of lives continuing their daily existence. A world that had been dismissed as primitive, irrelevant, worthless. A world that taught the galaxy the meaning of love.